I am going to make dessert ravioli. So I'm going to make the filling for the ravioli, and all it is ricotta mixed with chocolate hazelnut spread and a little bit of Parmesan, a little bit of powdered sugar. Parmesan, that would be very gross. That would be strange. All right, now I'm gonna mix this together. Ricotta, chocolate hazelnut, and powdered sugar. Kind of an unusual combination, isn't it, Paige? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all mixed together. In fact, I'm stopping short because I still want to kind of see the ricotta swirls in there. So now it's time to build the ravioli, and I am using wonton wrappers. Wonton wrapper ravioli is incredible. I use it to make regular ravioli. You can fill it with sort of a shrimp mixture. You can fill it with a veggie mixture, a cheese mixture. So I put a little spoonful in the middle, and then I've got a beaten egg, and I'm just dipping my finger in it and running it around the edge. And this is gonna act as the glue with the wonton wrapper. And then I'll take a second one and square it up on top of the filling. So once you get the ends kind of glued together, you've got to go around the edge and force the air out. You basically want this to be sealed together for the rest of eternity, or until you eat the ravioli. Okay, so look, Paige, all the air bubbles are out and you can see the filling in there. Wow. All right, one ravioli done. Now I'm gonna build 5 more exactly like this. Okay, got them all built. Whew. And I've got a pan with some vegetable oil, and I'm gonna drop all 6 of these in at once, and they are gonna take no time at all to cook. And then I'll take them out and show you how to finish this up. Okay, take a look. They almost got a little too brown, but actually they're perfect. Look at the golden, and I love how the wonton wrappers get kind of bubbly when they fry. So to finish them, I've got some white chocolate that I melted over a double boiler. I'm gonna see how stirrable, drizzleable it is. Drizzleable. And my goal is to drizzle kind of back and forth. It's a mess, but you know, that's what we're all about here. We're about delicious messes. And I have totally accomplished my goal. Chopped hazelnuts, you can do pecans, walnuts, anything you want. But how fun are these?
They look awesome.
And that chocolate ricotta mixture in the center, I know is just gonna be soft and ooey gooey. And then some sliced strawberries. I think this turned out just beautifully. What do you guys think?
I think you've done it again.
Did you know pasta could be dessert? Boozy chocolate trifles. So I'm just making the chocolate sheet cake that I've made for years, and I made a mixture of buttermilk, egg, and vanilla. So I have butter sizzling away, and I'm adding 2 heaping spoonfuls of unsweetened cocoa powder. And I'll stir this mixture, and now I can add some boiling water. So now I just need to bring this to a really gentle boil. It won't take too long. Okay, this is looking great, so I'm gonna turn the heat off, and I'll add the dry ingredients right into the saucepan. So a cup of self-rising flour, and a cup of sugar, and a little pinch of salt, and then stir it around. And when the flour and sugar pretty much disappear in the chocolate mixture, then it's time to add the buttermilk mixture. And I just kind of pour it in slowly and move it around as I add it, just so it doesn't cook that egg that's in the buttermilk. Okay, the cake batter looks exactly as it should. So I'm gonna get it in the pan, and I'm using a 1/4 sheet pan because this is all I'm gonna need for the trifles. Scrape that. If Todd or Lad were here, they would lick the bowl, lick the pan. So I'm gonna spread it into the corners. All right, it's all spread out. So I'm gonna bake this at 350 degrees for 12 minutes. So while the cake bakes, I am gonna make a simple berry sauce, kind of a berry compote, and it's gonna be part of the delicious chocolate trifles. And I've got 2 kinds of berries, chopped up strawberries and a bunch of fresh raspberries. 4 tablespoons of sugar, and better turn off the heat. Forgot, I'm gonna add a little bit of orange liqueur just to get this party started. Turn the heat back on. Okay, and then I'll just stir these around and start to bring the whole mixture to a gentle boil. All right, this berry mixture is looking good. So I wanna thicken it up a bit, and the best way to do that is to add a cornstarch slurry, and I've had it sitting, so I'm just stirring it up, and I'll pour it in, and you need to let it bubble a little bit at this point to really, really thicken. So that's just gonna take 2 or 3 more minutes. Look at this beautiful berry sauce. So I'm gonna turn off the heat and it'll just sit there and get thicker as it comes to room temperature. So I am going to whip some chocolate whipped cream. The chocolate whipped cream has 3 ingredients: cream, a couple of rounded tablespoons of cocoa powder, and a couple of tablespoons of powdered sugar. And I'm gonna whip the cream until stiff peaks form, and then I'll assemble the trifles. So the chocolate cake is baked and cooled, and I just cut it into small squares, and I'm gonna start building the beautiful desserts. And just drop spoonfuls over the cake. And next comes this incredibly luscious chocolate whipped cream. So before I build another layer, I've got just good old chocolate syrup. And now 1 more layer, just like that. Goodness, that looks glorious. And then I think I can fit in a little halved strawberry. And then I'm gonna have these cute little desserts to take down to the house to serve all those beautiful ladies. A dark chocolate cherry loaf cake. So I'm using a box of dark chocolate cake mix, and I added 2 eggs, and next comes some melted butter and milk, and it's that simple so far. I mean, I am so in love with cake mix based cakes. I've been making them more and more, and they kind of went out of style for a while when everybody kind of thought that they had to make every single cake from scratch, but they are back with a vengeance. I just think they're brilliant because you can use them as the base and then add in a bunch of, you know, candies or chocolates. You can add different flavorings to the cake mix, and you can just have fun with them, and that's what baking cake is all about anyway. All right, so I got the batter stirred together, and for my add-in, I'm gonna add in some dark chocolate chips. Gosh, I am struggling today. I'm all fizzy with love over your dad, Alex.
Oh gosh.
So I'm using a regular loaf pan, and I lined it with parchment and sprayed the parchment with baking spray. So I'm gonna get the cake batter into the pan, and the parchment is just hanging over the sides, and that's gonna help me get the cake out after it bakes. So nice little trick. Anytime you wanna seamlessly get a cake out, you can just create like an overhang with the parchment. All right, spread it into a layer so it's all even on top. And then let's get this in the oven. Love it in the oven. That's right, Alex. Thanks for getting with the program today. So I'm gonna bake the cake at 350 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes, and then I'll take it out, let it cool, and make the cherry icing. All right, the cake is baked and cooled, and I'm gonna make a bright pink icing just because it's a special occasion. This is a dinner for my sweetheart, and speaking of which, I cannot imagine making any sort of meal for Lad where dessert is not some form of chocolate. Chocolate and love, they go together. I should have a t-shirt that says that. So I'm making the frosting, and it's basically powdered sugar, a couple of big spoonfuls of cherry preserves, And then I also added about 5 drops of red food coloring, and I'm gonna give it a stir and see how pink it is. And I can always add more if I need to. I want this to be pretty thick, but also pourable, so I can just kind of drizzle it onto the cake. And looks like I'm gonna need just a little bit more milk just to thin it out. But I love this frosting because it has cherry preserves in it, but it's not like a really strong cherry flavor. Sometimes when you try to make something too cherry flavored, it can wind up tasting like cough medicine, I think. So I try just to add subtle hints of cherry, and I love how kind of sweet and tart the cherry preserves are. Okay, that is coming together well, and this is a chunky cherry preserve, so you can see the chunks of cherry in the frosting. Really, really good. Okay, I think this is a good consistency. We'll see if it's too thin or not. I doubt it. Oop. All right, so I'm gonna drizzle this over the top. Emphasis on over the top.
Wow.
Fill that well in the center there.
That's pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty, isn't it? And so simple, this cake. I mean, that took nothing at all to pull together. It just took a little time to bake the cake and let it cool. You definitely want the cake to cool, because if you don't, you will wind up with, icing that goes everywhere. Did that make sense? How does that look?
It looks pretty.
Okay, and then just to adorn the top, since this is a special occasion after all, this dinner is for Lad Drummond. I haven't actually determined whether he's going to be at dinner because I don't know where he is today. He's out on the ranch, working the land, but I'll have dinner all ready for him whenever he does show up. So on top, I'm doing mini chocolate chips just to drive home that chocolate point. But look at these. I found these cute little bright red. They're basically like vanilla chips, but they're red colored. But aren't they cute?
So cute.
This is such a special looking dessert and really didn't take that much effort. That is my kind of bacon right there. Cute. So, chocolate mousse. So I'm gonna start by making chocolate curls to put on top of the finished mousse. So I'm making some kind of marbled chocolate curls. So I have some white chocolate that I melted with some coconut oil and some darker chocolate, semi-sweet, that I also melted with coconut oil, and that just kind of helps keep it nice and smooth. And then when you go to make the curls, it actually curls instead of breaks. At least I hope that's what happens. So I drizzled on both colors of chocolate, and I'm just gonna use a spatula to spread it into a thin layer. Okay, so Alex, if you'll look and see, you can kind of see a hint of the marbling underneath. But what I need to do now is stick this in the freezer, so come back around.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put the chocolate for the curls into the freezer. Okay, so while that chills just for a couple of minutes, I'm going to whip some cream, heavy cream, in a bowl, and I'll start kind of slow. And while I whip it, I'm just gonna sweeten it by adding some regular sugar. You can use powdered sugar. You can use agave syrup if you're into that kind of thing. All right, I'm gonna whip this cream until stiff peaks start to form. All right, let's take a look. I think that whipped cream looks great. So let's take a look. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to get sort of a sharp instrument, whether it's a bench scraper or a spatula. Basically, you want to scrape, and then the curls should happen sort of naturally. And of course, we're not talking about smooth, beautiful curls, but look at that. You can see sort of the little marble quality. And try another one. And you can do long, so look at this, Alex. Here's where it's gonna really start to kind of cooperate. See? And they're just little cute curls. And the great thing about these is if you're having like a dinner party, you can make them ahead of time. So I'm gonna keep going until I get all of this chocolate curled. All right, finished them up. That's the last batch. See, you know what Socrates always said?
No.
No two chocolate curls are exactly alike.
Wow.
I don't think you ever said that.
Profound.
I'm gonna pop this plate in the freezer so these don't soften. I'll be right back. Now I'm actually gonna make the chocolate mousse. So I've got some egg yolks and I'm gonna add some vanilla. And then I'm gonna beat the yolks. Okay, this is all mixed together. So now I've got a mixture of semi-sweet chocolate and butter that I've had on a double boiler. And that double boiler has done its work. So I'm gonna temper the egg yolks by just adding a little bit of the hot chocolate butter mixture and whisking it. And this, of course, just brings the egg yolks to temperature. And so then when I add it into the rest of the chocolate, it doesn't turn into scrambled egg chocolate, which never ever sounds good. So here we go. And I always do it slowly and just stir the whole time. Okay, so look at this, Alex. Got that all stirred together. Looks great. Ooh, that bowl is hot. So now I'm gonna take about 3/4 of this whipped cream and fold it in. Now you can't rush the folding process at all. You need to take your sweet time and just do it gradually. So give me probably about 2 minutes and this will all be ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there and then I'm gonna doctor up the whipped cream just a little bit that I'm gonna put on top of the chocolate mousse. And I don't wanna totally mix this. I want it to be marbled. You're tempted to keep mixing, but you wanna stop when it just starts to marble. Okay, so now it's time to serve. I'm just gonna build one. You fill up the cup, and then you get the whipped cream with all the marbled, beautiful raspberry jam. I never said what I put in the whipped cream, did I?
No, you didn't.
Okay, and look at that. Oh, now I'm gonna get the other 3 built just like this one. All right, they're all assembled. The only thing missing are the chocolate curls. Okay, so the chocolate curls go on. You can save the curls. I like to get them really like jagged and shardy. Look at this, Alex. What do you think?
These are gorgeous.
Chocolate marshmallow pumpkin pie. I'm gonna make some chocolate ganache. I've got some cream that's been simmering away, and I broke up some chocolate pieces. Okay, this is about halfway mixed together, so it's a good time to add just a little bit of vanilla. Okay, this ganache looks beautiful. It's nice and smooth. So I'm gonna pour this all over the top of this pumpkin pie. It just instantly transforms it. I love the combination of pumpkin and chocolate too. I don't do that very often. Okay, I got all the pumpkin covered. So I'm gonna put this into the freezer so the chocolate will set. It won't take long at all. While it sets in the freezer, I'm gonna whip up a creamy marshmallow topping for the pie. It starts with a 7-ounce container of marshmallow cream. It goes into the mixer with 1/4 cup of room temperature butter. I'll just beat them together until they're combined. Next, I'll add 2 cups of heavy cream to another mixer bowl and get it going with the whisk attachment. When it's frothy, I'll gradually add a cup of powdered sugar, whisk it until it forms stiff peaks. Then I'll get the marshmallow mixture into the cream and beat it until it's all incorporated, smooth, and creamy. Okay, the ganache is all set. I'm gonna put the pie right into a ceramic pie dish. I'm gonna get this glorious, creamy marshmallow topping right on the pie. Now I thought about sprinkling nuts or chocolate candies over the top, but then I remembered these fall lollipops, all different colors, and I thought, how pretty will these be? So I am just gonna stick them all over the pie. No particular order. I love the colors, they're so gorgeous. An easy chocolate sheet cake with vanilla bean frosting we all love. So I'm mixing the dry ingredients, and it's just 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, and a pinch of salt. And I'll mix this together. Alex, Paige, and I could all make this cake in our sleep blindfolded. It's just one of those things. We've made it so many times, it's a total no-brainer for us. Okay, so the dry ingredients are mixed, and then I have a second mixture in the saucepan, 2 sticks of butter and 4 heaping tablespoons of cocoa. And I melted the butter and stirred in the cocoa, and I'm gonna turn up the heat just a little bit. And I have a kettle with hot water, so I'll measure a cup, and it goes right into the butter and cocoa mixture. And then I just turn up the heat enough for it to bubble up, and then as soon as it starts to bubble, I'll just turn it off. So I'm gonna let that sit for just a second while I mix together the wet ingredients. So it's a half a cup of buttermilk, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a teaspoon of baking soda. And if you don't have buttermilk in your fridge, the trick I always do is measure just a little under the amount of buttermilk you need of regular milk, and then add a little splash of regular white vinegar, let it sit for a few minutes, and then you'll have instant buttermilk. All right, so the buttermilk mixture is mixed, so now all 3 of these components get combined into one bowl. So the dry ingredients and the chocolate mixture. And then one thing Nan taught me, and Nan's the one that shared this recipe with me, is stir this mixture just a little bit to cool the chocolate, because otherwise you'll scramble the eggs, and scrambled egg chocolate sheet cake does not sound good, even though there's chocolate involved. Okay, and then the buttermilk mixture can go in. Alrighty, delicious. So I'm gonna stir this around, give me 2 minutes. All right, delicious. As Alex just said, she could just go ahead and eat this bowl with a spoon right now. All right, regular sheet pan. Oh no, I almost forgot. Oops. One little spin I'm gonna put on the chocolate sheet cake recipe is the addition of chocolate chips. I'm using semi-sweet, and you won't have like chunks of chocolate in the cake as much as just a little bit more chocolatey richness. All right, so then the batter goes into the sheet pan, and I like to pour it to cause minimum need to spread. So I kind of try to get it to spread as I pour. But you definitely want to push it into the corners, even out the surface so you don't have like a lopsided cake. Although, if you do, that's just part of the charm of a homemade chocolate sheet cake. Ooh, that looks delicious. Okay, let's put it into the oven page. I know, it just smells so good to make a chocolate sheet cake. 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Delicious. So that's all cool, as you can tell, since I just picked it up. So I'm gonna make the vanilla bean frosting. Woo! Now I'm adding everything to the bowl at once, just to kind of speed things along. So I've got 2 sticks of butter, powdered sugar, milk, and instead of vanilla, I'm using vanilla bean, just to be a little on the fancy side. It's basically the caviar from one vanilla bean. And then I've got my trusty mixer. Do you trust me? Speaking of trusty.
I don't know.
But if this blows up on you,
I'm gonna start really low. And then I'm just gonna keep mixing, and as everything incorporates, I'm gonna speed this up so it's nice and fluffy and creamy and dreamy and heavenly and wonderful. That's just gonna take me about 30 seconds. All right. Oh, look at this page. How delicious does that look? All right, there's no better way to frost a cake than to just plop the icing right on top.
Wow, that looks amazing.
I mean, we need to cut into this, right?
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
feel like- No, I won't. Here, can I try the other side?
Eat it off my finger. Eat it off my finger.
Oh my, you're
Kidding.
so
Oh, I'm just kidding. That is absolutely incredible. Wow, I can't say enough about it. Chocolate sheet cake, vanilla bean icing, make it soon. Skillet chocolate cakes. I'm just sizzling some butter in a saucepan. I'm actually making the icing first because I want to give it time to cool. So to the butter, I'll add 3 tablespoons of cocoa, and they're rounded tablespoons. And then some milk. And I'm gonna whisk this together until it starts to gently bubble. Okay, this chocolate mixture is good to go. So now I just have to mix all of this in with a whole bunch of sifted powdered sugar. So it literally just goes right in. All right, this icing is done. Everything's mixed together. So I'm gonna sit it over here to the side, let it cool while I get the cake going. I can almost make this in my sleep. It is so simple. So the dry ingredients come first, and that is flour and sugar, equal parts, and a pinch of salt. And I'll stir the dry ingredients together, and then I'll mix the wet ingredients in a separate pitcher. And it's buttermilk, a little splash of vanilla, baking soda, and an egg. And then I'll beat this together. All right, so that's the dry ingredients, the wet ingredients, and now I'll make the chocolate mixture for the cake. Lots of chocolate in this recipe. So I've got another saucepan of melted butter, and I'm adding 2 tablespoons of cocoa. This is very deep, rich, unsweetened cocoa. And I have some boiling water hanging out, and then it gets poured in, and I'll turn the heat up and whisk it just until it starts to boil. I like to pour this mixture into the dry ingredients just to cool down the chocolate. So even just a few stirs kind of gets rid of that heat a little bit. So now comes the buttermilk egg mixture. And I'll just kind of stir gradually as it gets worked in. So now I'm gonna pour it into individual iron skillets. So I'll just pour an equal amount of batter in each skillet. Okay, these cakes are gonna bake at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. So the cakes are out of the oven. They look incredible, deep, rich, and chocolatey. And I have the cooled icing in a piping bag. So evenly distribute it among the cakes. So with regular sheet cake, pecans go in the icing itself, but I like to also sprinkle them. I'm gonna make 2 delicious chocolate poke cakes. Poke cakes are amazing, totally classic. I'm adding chocolate chips to a double boiler, which is nothing more than a heat-proof glass bowl over a pan of simmering water. And then I'm gonna pour in. Alex always likes to get close for these sweetened condensed milk moments.
It's a nice pour.
So you want to stir the chocolate chips and the sweetened condensed milk, and this is already heating up. And this is just a good way to heat up any kind of chocolate mixture without burning the chocolate. So I took a big old shortcut with these poke cakes because I knew I had to make 2, and I used really good quality chocolate cake box mix. So here's how you make a poke cake. Watch this, Alex. You take a wooden spoon and you basically just poke it.
Wow.
Poke holes in it. I remember Gaga, my grandmother, used to make poke cakes all the time, and she would let me pour the mixture over the cake once it was all poked. And sometimes she'd even let me poke the cake.
Wow.
Gaga was a wonderful woman. So the cakes are poked. I'm gonna check on the chocolate chip mixture. Okay, let's cheat just a little bit. Okay, this really thin chocolatey mixture. Can you see?
Oh yeah.
gets poured over the poke cake. And look, you want it to go into those holes. This looks like a dream. So that's the first cake. And look how good that looks, honey. Woo! Poke cake number 2, here we go. I would just dig into this right now. Look at that gorgeous glossiness. But a proper poke cake, in my opinion, has some kind of frosting. So, it's not the most gourmet choice, but I'm gonna make a really yummy chocolate whipped topping. And I'm starting with 2 packages of chocolate instant pudding. Don't judge me.
No judgment.
The cowboys will be here soon. I do not have time to make a homemade pudding from scratch. And then to the pudding, I'll add some unsweetened cocoa powder. Trust me on this, it's so exciting. So this is instant pudding. And the glory of instant pudding is you just add milk and whisk. I am making a mess of the kitchen. Whisk it together. Look at this. It's like magic. So this is a very intensely chocolatey mixture, and I am gonna break out the non-dairy whipped topping. I softened it overnight in the fridge, and the great thing about this stuff is it's so easy. You don't have to whip cream and sugar. And all of those cowboys out there totally grew up on this stuff, and they will absolutely love this cake. So you just want to fold it together. Okay, it's almost. Good grief, Ree. If you guys could see the floor, my clothes, under the height of this countertop, you would crack up. Okay, so look at this. Get in here. Look. Oh, bye, babe. So I will take half of this, and I actually baked the cakes earlier this morning because I wanted them to be totally cooled. And you just smear this chocolate topping all over. Now I'm gonna do the second cake, and it's gonna take me about 3 seconds. All right, chocolate overload poke cakes, 2 of them. I'm so excited, but I can't relax. There's still a lot more to do. I am making chocolate overload cookies. So I'm gonna cream together butter and sugars. I've got 3 sticks of salted butter, a cup of regular sugar, and a cup and a half
There we go.
of brown sugar. And I'm gonna go ahead and let the mixer start creaming these together.
Cream.
And while those cream together, I'm gonna mix up the dry ingredients. So now I'm gonna drop in 3 eggs, 1 at a time, boop, and let each one mix in just a little bit before you move on. 9 times out of 10 when I do this, 3 or 4 go in at once. So this is a lucky day, it didn't happen, but it's the first time it didn't happen. Tablespoon of vanilla. Okay, I'm gonna turn the mixer to low, and then I'm gonna use a measuring cup to slowly add the dry ingredients. This is gonna be a chocolate explosion. Okay, I'm gonna turn up the mixer and just let it really get that stuff mixed together.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna just make sure all of this is mixed. And now I'm gonna fold in all of the rest of the chocolate. So I've got dark chocolate chips. You don't wanna add too many dark chocolate chips because they are really strong, but just a little bit. And then regular semi-sweet chocolate chunks. A bunch of candy-coated chocolate pieces. And I'm folding them in because if I added all of this while it was mixing, all the candy-coated chocolate pieces would break up into a million pieces. So folding them is always better. So Alex, look at this batter, or this dough. I mean.
Oh, bye-bye.
Just kidding. All right. Okay, now I'm gonna form the dough into balls. So I've got a sheet pan with parchment. I'm gonna get rid of this so you can see what I'm doing. And then, I've got my trusty scoop. Okay, so I'm gonna get a big, generous scoop of dough and then roll it into a ball, sort of a ball, and put it on the parchment, and then mini candy-coated chocolate pieces. Candy-coated chocolate pieces, candy-coated chocolate pieces. And I'm gonna press them all over the surface. And that'll ensure that when the cookies bake, you'll still see those beautiful candies all over the top. Ooh, I could just eat that dough right now. But I can't. I'm gonna do the exact same thing to the rest of the dough. Okay, now I just need to chill the dough. So come with me, Alex.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want you to miss a single second of this. I just need to chill the dough for 30 minutes before the cookies bake. All right, I actually left a few balls of dough in the fridge, and we can bake those off later as we need them. I just transferred 12 to baking sheets, and let's go put these in the oven. These are so much fun. Wait till you see them after they bake. So I'm gonna put them in a 350-degree oven, and they're gonna bake for just about 18 minutes. You are going to be so excited. Okay, these beautiful cookies are out of the oven. They've been cooling. Look at these. Are they gorgeous or what?
They are gorgeous.
And I know this is a cake stand, but I'm gonna call it a cookie stand for today, just because I can. All right, this is what you call chocolate overload cookies, and there's a good reason for that. Come on in here. Ready? I mean, that is like chocolate heaven. Todd loves sweets, and this is one seriously sweet pie. He also loves chocolate, peanut butter, so this pie covers all the bases. I also love this pie for all of the aforementioned reasons, but I also love it because it begins with a chocolate cookie crust. I'm gonna melt 4 tablespoons of butter in the saucepan and then grind up the cookies. I have exactly 25 chocolate sandwich cookies. Now, I'm just gonna pulse these up. Don't worry about the creamy filling because it just totally disappears and becomes part of the crumbs. Now, the butter is melted. I'll just drizzle it in. Butter and chocolate cookies. Life doesn't get any better than that. And then I'll just give it a couple of pulses just to moisten up the crumbs. And that is it. Very, very uncomplicated. That's one of the things I love about this pie. Now I will make a big mess as I pour the crumbs into the pie pan. And then the easiest way to get it in is just use your hands, start pressing the center. You want the crust to be pretty packed in there, so then later when you slice the pie, the crust will stay together. Another thing I love about this crust is that it's a refrigerator pie and it doesn't have to bake. I'm just gonna stick the crust in a 350-degree oven for about 5 or 7 minutes just to get it set. The filling begins with a cup of creamy peanut butter. I'm just gonna eyeball it. I don't wanna go through the effort of measuring it into the cup and then scraping it out of the cup. So if I get a little more or less, it won't hurt anything. All right, and then I've got an 8-ounce package of softened cream cheese. I'll throw it in there, and then I'll just whip this up for a sec. What a yummy, yummy mixture. Now to this mixture, I'll add a 1.25 cups of powdered sugar. And the final ingredient, avert your eyes, frozen non-dairy whipped topping. I've been thawing it so it's nice and soft. Of course, you can use regular whipped cream, but it just won't come out with the same consistency as this stuff. Okay, absolutely perfect. All right, now I'm just gonna put this into the cooled crust. I tell you, if you love peanut butter, this is your dessert. The whole kitchen smells like peanut butter right now. And then I'll just spread it around. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And that is all there is to it. Now it just needs to sit in the fridge for a couple of hours until it's set.
Wow, that's mine.
That looks good, honey.
Oh my god.
Chocolate peanut butter pie.
That's definitely mine.